Welcome to another episode of Anime Splash. I'm Neal Trotter.
I'm Rickey Morris.
So today we're going to look at an anime called Maoyuu Maou Yuusha. That directly translates into Demon King and Hero. So again, as let me do this. I can do this. Maoyuu Yuusha. So, in case you don't know, if you're watching Anime Splash for the very first time, what we do is that we watch the first 3 episodes of an anime, and then based off only those first 3 episodes, we decide whether or not we want to continue watching the rest of the show or just stop watching it altogether. Now we start off with a breakdown of the plot by Rickey.
Alright, so this anime is like a type of a fantasy setting, knights and magic. And in this world, the humans are in constant war with the demons. And this story takes place as the main character, who's named the hero, goes and storms the Demon King's castle by himself, just with the intent of killing the Demon King and ending the war. But when he meets the Demon King, it turns out to be this woman, and she explains to him how the war is benefiting mankind and demonkind alike, and if they were to end things now, things would end up worse. So she plans to improve conditions in both worlds, so that if the war does end, society won't crumble because of how everyone's become dependent on having this war. The hero agrees to assist her in any way he can. So they join forces, and along the way there's a lot of sexual tension and stuff like that. So they throw in a lot of educational stuff in there as well. So.
And there you have it. So let's start off with my first impressions. So when I first started watching the first 5 minutes or so, I was getting really not excited, but a little greatly anticipating. Maybe I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe this is something I'm gonna like watching. Got to do with Sword of the Shield, adventuring, you got to, it's a war against demons and humans, and now the hero is going to slay the leader of the demons, and I thought it was all good. And then it changes it up very quickly, where the leader, the Demon King, which is a queen, basically, wants to join up with him, and that was okay. I was like, okay, maybe that'll be cool. So I'm thinking all right, they'll team up together and then go on these crazy battles where they're fighting, and it's gonna be crazy, and there's a lot of magic and combat. And no, that's not it at all. What happens is that they go together and they're trying to build some sort of alliance together to, I don't know if they're trying to keep the war going, or
no, what they're trying to do, the way she explained it is because of the war effort, a lot of society has become very dependent on it. So if the war abruptly ended, it would cause a lot of problems, because you have the outer countries that are really poor, they can't produce food, stuff like that. So the countries in the center of the capital, give them money and food and stuff to protect them, because of this war effort. And so if the war ended, things would just get messed up. People would start starving. There would be.
So they want to end the war slowly.
What she wants to do is she wants to build up human society where it's less dependent on the war.
And then end it.
Yeah, and then it
is the ultimate goal to end the war.
Yeah, but do it in a way where things don't become worse off.
Yeah, and that's a great effort, but it's honestly very boring to watch, to be quite frank. It's not very entertaining. But
they spent the first episode, like I think the second episode they spent like on a farm.
yeah, and I mean, and I mean that's all 3 episodes. I mean, they're not on the farm, but they're just doing things that are extremely boring. Now, uh, Rick, I was about to slam this anime, but then Ricky bust out with his smartphone and looked it up, and he looked up the genre, and one of the first things it said is educational. And then it kind of dawned on me that this is basically pretty much an educational show. Uh, that's what I think. It's
Educational, romance, and fantasy. Yeah, into that.
I see it. Now when I think about it more and more, it kind of reminds me of like educational cartoons, like Captain Planet or Where in the World is Carmen San Diego? That type of style. And then when you look at it like that, it's not so bad. But I think you have to take it like that. Yes, it does have the romance and then all that other stuff. But I think if you want all that, you can. There's definitely other places. I think the primary thing is education because. So I jotted down notes while watching it. It kind of reminded me a lot of when I was a little kid and I played the board game Monopoly. Because Monopoly taught me how to count money, deal with change. It taught me a lot about basic economics and how you can negotiate with people and not everything's set in stone. It taught me about how mortgage works. It taught me how rent works, all that property and ownership. It taught me a lot of stuff. And I think that's what this anime's, in league in that category. I think it's. I guess I don't know if I might. This might be wrong, but I'm just gonna say I think it's for kids. I really do think it's kids because if you're an adult and they're trying to teach you these concepts that you probably already know about. So there's no real substance. You're just kind of like blah, 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 blah. Like they talk about war and how, war can be good to the economy, which, I mean, it can be.
How some people can benefit from the war.
Yeah.
Mainly the upper class.
Yeah. Just how war affects the economy. That all depends. Because for example, World War II. Taking it to a current, more realistic situation. World War II, benefited the economy, as a whole. People they raised the middle class, but then wars today kind of are hurting the middle class. So it all depends. But they keep it really basic. It talks about economics and it talks about agriculture. It breaks that down very good in terms of how you can utilize crops to the best of in terms of seasons and all that, and how you can make a crop self-sufficient and all that stuff. It even talks about things like slavery and what it does to people and how one can develops a slave mentality and how to break away from that. It kind of breaks that down in a very elementary level. So you can learn a lot if you're like a little kid. I'm saying like 6, 7, 8 years old.
Or if you're like interested in like medieval times, because to me it's like going through the history of like how people in that area sort of developed, because it's talking about potatoes and like how people discovered how to grow them and I don't know, stuff like that. I don't know. But
yeah, I think if you're a little kid and you're interested in medieval times, if you're a grown up and you're interested in medieval times, you don't want to start here. you want to go to like a more advanced. There's plenty of shows that will break that down further, or just go to library, because but most everybody. By the time you're in junior high school, you basically kind of got all these concepts down. but for little kids, you're good. The other thing was I was thinking like, well, it's not all education because they do have a lot of mature stuff in here. I guess the debate that's going in my head is it mature in terms of American standards? But I'm thinking maybe in Japan it's not so mature because they don't really care too much about sexual stuff as much as kind of it's more taboo in this country than it is Japan. I don't know. Who knows? But I would not continue watching it as a conclusion, just because I don't think this anime is for me. So, I'm thinking, I'm debating in my head because they had this romance in the show. So if you're like a romance fan, is there something for you? I actually would argue no, because there's plenty of other shows that have kind of a better romance, and they got other things that are more interesting. Where I think this is more, I'm kind of thinking like this is more toward the education, and all the rest of the stuff are just kind of on the side to kind of, add a little extra bonuses to it. But more is education. That's why, and I'm glad he brought that up when we were looking at it on his smartphone, because I would have really smashed on this one, because I was like, dang, it really dropped my hopes up, and like, why are they explaining all this stuff to me? I mean, it just doesn't make any. But I think it's an educational anime. But would you like to comment further or defend it?
Well, I wouldn't continue watching it myself either, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think I want to say it is an interesting concept, though. Just just like to see how, instead of just having just fighting, like you have like these people trying to solve a conflict another way. And, I find that a little bit interesting, but the anime is just kind of going really slowly with it, so I'm not gonna continue watching it.
Yeah, and then that brings up another good point. Like, I mean, you don't want to have just relying on just fighting all the time. So I mean, that can get kind of old too, and kind of kind of in terms of the writing, you're not very creative, I think. But I always go back to why are you watching a television show? It's escapism, especially anime. You're not really trying to get realistic with it, for the most part. I mean, this probably you are, because you're trying to get educated. So I don't know. I kind of like when things go over the top and there's like a lot of fighting, even though it's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I just saying, like, in contrast to that.
Yeah. You gotta really, really be careful if you want to go that route where it's like, okay, I want to do it. I want to you want to make the plot more so that it's more not so much about the conflict. It's more about not so much about the fighting, more so about just solving it in other ways. Because there's this huge hole in the ground that you could fall into where it gets kind of too boring, where it starts getting too realistic or too uninteresting, because ultimately you're watching this show to escape. You're trying to just kind of fantasize and just be kind of entertained. So but it is a good concept. But it is a good concept. I think it's just ultimately its purpose is to educate. It could go, if you took the concept and did something else with it. It probably would be great. It would be a great show, but it's not that. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to even recommend it. I mean, who would I tell? What friend would I recommend this to? So I mean, even little kids I know would not be interested in learning. I mean, that's why they go to school. So I don't know. But it is a good Captain Planet. Carmen San Diego, PBS. I was saying that you might see it on, Japan's public station, NHK, but then Rickey was like, no, it's got mature content. So I don't know. I don't mean to say it's bad. It's not bad. It's just kind of, it's just not for me. I just thought it was kind of boring. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of what it does is good. It's good education. Well, I mean, that's all there is to it. Make sure to tune into another episode of Anime Splash. Like us on Facebook if you want. Comment. Join in on the discussion down below. That's cool. Maybe you got some points. Maybe you really like this anime, and I'm completely wrong. It's not about education. It's all about this love story between these two men, because it does have that. That's very prominent in the show. Or it could be some other things you might bring up that I'm completely off the charts about. Just comment, let me know, and we'll talk about it, and it'll be cool. But until next time, check us out. This is Anime Splash.